All right. So the webinar is being recorded. I'm gonna take let's these participant numbers kind of fill in a little bit. I see those numbers are going up. So I am gonna let this roll for just a minute. Give our people, we'll probably start in like 2 minutes. Okay. All right. Looks like we're about filled in with our participants. And of course, more people may show up, but I'd like to go ahead and get started. I'm Shannon Miller with the Miller Elder Law Firm, and we are talking today with Cheryl Harris, who is a manager at SHINE. And also, you work for Elder Options, though. Is that right,
Yes,
Cheryl?
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she is like an extraordinary expert on Medicare. And I will tell you guys, just talking to her for a few minutes to prepare for this webinar, I learned so much. And I actually, I taught a little yoga class and our topic was Medicare yesterday. So I brought a lot of what Cheryl told me in those few minutes to our participants at the senior center. And I also talked about the fact that, at the senior center, SHINE is present a lot of the time. In fact, I think they were there until 11 o'clock yesterday when we were there. So it is an amazing resource. It's free. So there is no cost. It is a service that's provided through our beautiful government. And it's a no-brainer to have an annual update review of your policy every year. And I'm going to let Cheryl kind of take it away. Cheryl, thank you so much for being here to share your knowledge with us. And as we do always, if you have questions that come up during the webinar, feel free to put your question in the Q&A. And we, we'll look at them, and if it's appropriate, we may go ahead and take questions during the webinar, but we also may wait till the end. And I will tell you, Cheryl, I may ask my own little questions, I always do.
Sure.
And jump in a little bit. So take it away. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. And our topic is the Medicare open enrollment period. And just to make sure everyone understood, my name is Cheryl Harris, and the Florida SHINE program is a program through the Florida Department of Elder Affairs. Our program is also a federally grant program. So we have programs in all 50 states and U.S. territories. I'm in the Villages today, and I had someone come up and said, my sister is in South Carolina. Is there a way she can get help in South Carolina? I said, absolutely. So I was able to make that connection. So if you were thinking about, others that someone turned the lights out on me. If you, I feel like I'm a ghost, but anyway, I'm here. So they, excuse me, I'm sorry about that distraction, but through our grant funds come through the Administration for Community Living, through the state, they come through the Florida Department of Elder Affairs. And just to make sure to go back to what Shannon was saying, when we say free, I'm always hesitant to say free because we are your tax dollars at work. So there was a cost, it's just your tax dollars. But we do provide free at the time of service, and it's unbiased health insurance counseling. To me, it's so important that you go to someone who is going to provide you that unbiased counseling. You don't have to make a change. Certainly be an informed consumer and find out what your cost options are for the coming year. As said, we are through the Florida Department of Elder Affairs. Our services are free, unbiased, and confidential. And we are not affiliated with any specific insurance company, nor do we endorse any insurance company or particular product. Now, Shannon mentioned that I work for Elder Options, and we serve Elder Options is right here in North Central Florida. We serve 16 counties. So as I mentioned, our dollars come through the Department of Elder Affairs, and then it flows through these 11 different districts, or what they're called planning and service areas. And we are planning and service area 3. We do business as Elder Options. We are a not-for-profit organization who oversees aging services within our 16 county region. And then I specifically manage one of those services, which is SHINE. And SHINE stands for Serving Health Insurance Needs of Elders. Throughout the state, this is our statewide toll-free number for you to connect with any of these areas. So if you're in the Gainesville area, you could call our direct number, but you could also call this statewide number, and you'll be get this. Now, what do SHINE counselors do? My elevator speech is that we do all things related to Medicare. So if your issue touches Medicare, if you're new to Medicare, if you are weighing out your options of I'm beyond the age of 65 and I'm trying to decide exactly when do I want to leave the workforce, when do I need to coordinate leaving my employer-based insurance and start Medicare, doing those annual plan reviews, whatever your issue is, as long as it touches Medicare, then we're here to assist with that issue. But today we're specifically talking about the open enrollment period, sometimes referred to as OEP.
Can I interrupt you for a second, Cheryl?
Sure,
You know I'm gonna
certainly,
do
yes.
that throughout. So
That's
if
all
you
right.
can,
That's all right.
yeah, can you go back to that last slide? Because I noticed on there, and this was something that you and I talked about Monday, the question of like, you guys are helpers for things like Medicare appeals. So, you know, we
Yes.
get a lot of questions from people. They get a discharge notice. They're in a rehab bed and they thought they were going to get 100 days of Medicare. And now they're being told, hey, you're no longer improving. So you have to leave. It's a Saturday and you're going to have to be out of the bed by Sunday night. So let's say they were to call you guys at that point, or if it's, during business hours, I don't know if you guys would take a call like that, but what would the SHINE counselors do with that kind of call?
So if it's regarding a discharge, we're going to give the information because we are not medical. So that has to go to KeyPro, which is the quality assurance program. And they are the medical folks who help. And while you are filing that appeal, and that information should be in your admission packet, either to the skilled facility or to a hospital. Sometimes we overlook that information, but that is in your admission paperwork. And it says if you feel like you are being discharged before you are ready, then there is an appeal process, and they are 24/7. And they may not answer the phone right there, but they are required to get back to you in a timely fashion, especially when you're thinking about the weekend. And they will overlook the paperwork, and they do have medical people that will help tend to that. Like I said, we're not medical, but we do help with the insurance portion of it.
And one of the things that they can do is basically delay that discharge, right? So if
Correct. Yes.
so if in fact you're on a Friday night or a Saturday and they're telling you have to leave on Sunday night and you go ahead and file your discharge, they can't like kick you out of that bed while your appeal is pending.
You are absolutely correct. They cannot make you leave while the appeal is in process.
Thank you.
Now, along those lines, though, one of the questions I would ask when people tell me they're being kicked out, well, Is it because if you are enrolled in a particular plan that says, oh, your days are no longer covered, and now you're going to have a copay if you stay? That is a different issue than you're not continuing to improve. Those are two separate issues. So if someone came to me with that, I would try to ask a few more questions to find out exactly what the issue is.
Right. And I mean, I'm not going to debate the lawyer stuff with you, but just to clarify for our viewers, the standard for discharge is not, are you continuing to improve? It's not improve.
That is correct.
Right. The GMO standard is like, as long
It-
as the therapy is not causing you to decline, you get to stay in the
That
bed.
is absolutely, yes.
I just want to make sure people know that out there, because most people don't know that. And a lot of facilities will tell our clients that, oh no, you're not improving anymore. You might have 100 days because you have traditional Medicare and a supplement, but we are saying you're no longer going to be covered by Medicare because you're not continuing to improve.
Right,
And
that
those
is
do create excellent grounds for appeal.
absolutely, yes. But
All
it
right.
depends on your coverage.
Right. Which we want to talk about too. And I hate to interrupt again, because I know you want to move on, but like people always want to know, like Medicare Advantage plan, Medicare Part C, these plans, they have vision, they have dental, they're going to give you $100 back every month
Mhm.
if you switch from your traditional Medicare and the supplement that you've had since you were 65. You're not sick, and you don't have any real health problems. Tell us. And I know you need to be unbiased in this regard. I don't. So everyone knows I'm not a fan of Medicare Advantage plans, but tell us what you see. You're in the trenches every day, kind of looking at people's Medicare Advantage plans and when people get sick. Tell us what your take is on this whole idea of Medicare Advantage versus Medicare.
Okay, so one of the things when people are on the younger side, they may be entering the Medicare world at 65, and they'll say, I've never been sick, I don't take medications. Why should I pay that extra cost for a Medicare supplement, also known as a Medigap policy? Why should I pay that extra cost? I usually ask folks, what is your philosophy of insurance? I'm not talking about health insurance, I'm talking about insurance. Do you want to be covered when life happens? Or do you want to pay less on the side and be financially ready whenever life does happen? So Medicare Advantage plans on the front side, as you said, they have lots of perks, and there are lots of things that they use to try to get people to join their plans because they need as many as people as possible to enroll to offset their losses. So,
And
but
when you say that, when you say
what
offset their
happened?
losses, it's like when they pay a claim, because they're getting a certain amount of money from the government.
Correct.
And then every time they pay a
Yes.
claim, they're giving their money away, right? So they don't
Well,
get to keep as
profit
much
margin.
profit,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So they're incentivized as a Medicare Advantage plan not to pay claims because they keep more money, right? If
You said that.
I know. I mean, that's the business model, right? The
Yeah.
business model is they get paid a certain amount every month, and
Mhm.
whatever they don't pay out in claims, they get to keep as profit. So
Right.
it is, and until recently, the appeals process through Medicare Advantage plans has been very insignificant. Like we really haven't had a lot of good due process when we appeal a denied claim with a Medicare Advantage plan. And I know the Medicare Advocacy Center has engaged in some lawsuits to try and get a better process for Medicare Advantage appeals. But honestly, it's been very challenging when somebody's
Mhm.
claim gets denied. And there's so many requirements that you have to get pre-approval for things. And even that pre-approval process, when we're talking about Medicare Advantage plans, can be very, very challenging for people to get that pre-approval. And so then, the outpatient hip replacement and you've been you've been told for the last 3 years that you need to get your hip replaced, and it's not an emergency, it's just been this problem and it's causing you dramatic pain, and you can't do activities, you're not exercising, you're stressed all the time because of the pain, and yet it's possible that that Medicare Advantage plan may not approve that outpatient surgery. And then what does your appeals, look like? It's been very, very frustrating.
Well, and they are the final say for their own decision. So as you've said, there's no ultimate decision making other than they make the decision themselves. If you appeal for a medication that you need, or if you appeal for an extra test that your doctor says is necessary, you have to wait for all of that. And as you've said, the appeals process with that pathway of receiving your Medicare benefits can be quite challenging. You have to stay in network, and you have to work within your plan to get your health care covered.
And when you guys are doing your SHINE reviews, you're still reviewing those Medicare Advantage plans. And I'm sure
Absolutely.
advising people like, hey, here's all the options for Medicare Advantage. Here are the costs. Here are the drugs that are covered. Here are the providers that are covered. And that can change from year to year. I know you were telling me before.
Well, yeah, not only year to year, it can happen in the middle of a year.
Oh
So
God.
there's one particular group of that specializes in senior health care there were two prominent doctors within the group that one particular Advantage plan said, you two doctors are no longer in network with us. Now, the others in the practice are, but the plan, we'll use the terminology, kicked out those two doctors, and they have a right to do that anytime throughout the year. And it's frustrating when you have made your choice for the following year, and then come January, you find out, oh, they're not in network anymore. So that can greatly impact your cost if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, and that will impact your copays. But there is, and then we're getting a little off topic, but whenever January 1 through March 31st, there is a second time of year that if you are enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan and you tried out a new plan and you found out this is just not working, or my doctor is no longer in network, you can make another change from January 1 through March 31st. You can change to another Advantage plan or you can revert back to original Medicare, but you just have to be prepared for what the ramifications of that move.
So let's talk about that, because I know people really don't understand that issue. So everybody
Mhm.
understands, if you start when you're 65 and you get traditional Medicare, and then you get a Medigap or supplement policy, it might be like, the one that's very common is like AARPs, right? So like the supplement policy with AARP or whatever it is that you've got that supplement policy. So for example, if you are discharged from the hospital after 72 hours and now you have 100 days in a rehab bed, so long as the therapy is not causing you to decline,
Right.
the first 20 days are going to be 100% covered. And then Medicare is going to cover like 60% of the next 80 days. Is that
And
right?
then your supplement's if you
And
have
your,
a plan, is going to pick up the copay of that so you can stay,
right.
it's
The
fully
whole 100
covered
days
up 100 days. Yes.
fully covered. And then you decide, I'm going to switch to Medicare Advantage plan. And
Mhm.
so now you're still going to get your 20 days, but depending on the plan, there may or may not be coverage for that 80 days, correct? So,
Well, right. But what we mostly see
yeah, what
is
do you most?
that the Advantage plans they'll only certify you about 5 or 6 days at a time for rehab. And
Okay.
then at the conclusion of that, I'll just say physical therapy, if that is the
Yeah.
primary, I've been told that they have to spend an inordinate amount of time in paperwork to get the individual recertified for another 5 days. That's kind of, and I'm not saying that's across the board, but that's kind of the standard. It's 5 days. So every 5 days, they're trying to recertify you to continue
The
to
facility is,
stay.
right.
Yes, the
And so the
facility is.
facility, when they see someone with a Medicare Advantage plan come in, they're like, we don't want Medicare Advantage plans. And so what
Right.
they often will do, and you and I talked about this on Monday, is they will move the person from Medicare Advantage back to traditional Medicare. But the problem with that, first of all, is, oftentimes the person who's just come out of the hospital doesn't understand when someone's putting a piece of
Right.
paper in front of them, sign this and we're going to get you back on your traditional medic. They're probably not with it to the point, they've been in the hospital admitted for 72 hours and now they're in 20 days or the first, few days of being moved into the rehab bed. And unless they've, had someone who's been super engaged in the facility reaches out to that agent, like a healthcare surrogate or an agent under power of attorney, they're really kind of switching facilities. We've known of facilities that switch people and our clients are swearing that they never signed anything. Obviously you
Right.
have to sign something, but the difficulty in that is that there's no supplement or Medigap policy. So the facility has traditional Medicare, but there isn't a supplement policy. So now we're still looking at that problem of 20 days of coverage and then just really a out-of-pocket cost. That's the private pay rate that, it can cost, we had a client that
Thousands.
in for a week without it, and they ended up with a bill for $8,000, and it was 10 days. So
Right.
between days 20 and 30, it was $10,000
Right.
of cost. So the point that I'm trying to make, and I think what you and I have kind of talked about, is that the problem with Medicare Advantage is that it's fine when you're well, but if you have a healthcare event, which by the way, everyone does before they die, unless you get hit by a truck or have a heart attack, in your sleep, which never happens, by the way. So yeah, so I see that difficulty.
Because when someone switches from Medicare Advantage and they switch back to original Medicare, they do not have guarantee issue to purchase a Medigap or Medicare supplement. It's not a great illustration, but I liken it to car insurance because most people they understand car insurance more than their health insurance. And so I ask, if you go out and buy health insurance, excuse me, your car insurance after you had a wreck, do you think they're going to pay it? Well, no. And so not that our bodies are a wreck after an event, but you could feel like we'd been in that wreck. And so with also your auto policy can deny issuing a policy to you if you've had a bad driving record.
Right.
That's the same when it comes to health insurance. They can deny writing you a policy, or they can exclude certain health events for so long if they will write you a policy. We have just seen that many times, especially if you've been, one of the first questions they're going to ask on that health questionnaire is, have you been in the hospital the past 6 months? Do you have cardiac issues? It's a very extensive health questionnaire that you have to go through, and they are not mandated to write a policy at any price. They can absolutely turn you down.
And I think that's a confusing myth out there. People think, oh no, if you have a pre-existing condition, then they can't ask you questions about your health care. That is true for Medicare. Traditional Medicare cannot discriminate if you have a health issue, but it's the supplement that can discriminate. So, just to kind of bust that myth out there for people that are like, oh no, I can get a supplement policy at any time. No, they get to ask, they have underwriting. So it is, it is going to be very difficult if you think you're going to get back your traditional Medicare and your supplement when you've gone on Medicare Advantage for an extended period of time. Which brings me to another issue, Cheryl, and I want you to get back to your PowerPoint, but I'm just going to ask this because I know people are like, what if when I turned 65, I did not purchase Part D, which is our prescription drug program? I am not on any medications. I don't need prescriptions. I doubt I will for a long time. I didn't purchase one when I turned 65. What's the deal with that?
So when you were eligible for Part D prescription drug coverage and you elected not to enroll and you did not have credible coverage through either your own active employment or your spouse's active employment or VA benefits or through a union coverage, if you did not have credible coverage that included your prescription drugs, then you will have a penalty. And the penalty is 1 for every month times 1% times the national average. So I'm not aware of what the national average is next year, but it's in the ballpark of $35. So for every month, so 12 months is not every year, it's for every month that you did not sign up times 1% times $35. So it can get it I've seen circumstances where the penalty was greater than the monthly premium, and you pay that penalty every month for as long as you have coverage.
Now, is it 1% of $35, or is $35 the 1% of the national average?
$35 is the ballpark of the national average. So
For
you've
a
got
Part D policy. So it would really be like $3.
penalty.
Oh, okay. So the penalty would be not $35, but it would be 1% of $35. Is that right?
Times the number of months that you did not have coverage. So we're
Okay.
still
So
seeing people from 2006.
yeah,
So we're looking at 19 years times 12. So that's going to give you your
right,
number of months
right,
times, I'm going to say 0.35, just
right.
1% times a ballpark 35. So you're looking at almost $80 in penalty per month if someone was
Per month.
eligible per
Per month.
month.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's not just like a one-time penalty, because I was trying to
Mm-mm.
figure out the math,
Mm-mm.
and I was like, that's not that much money though. But it's
Uh,
like $80 a month if they didn't have it in 2006.
right.
And then that's going to be in addition to the
The
Part
monthly
D
premium. Yes.
premium, which right now is like $35 is the
The
average.
national average. Yes.
Okay, so they're going to be paying $80 plus the 35 forever.
As long as they have prescription drug coverage. Now,
Okay.
remember, there could have been circumstances why they didn't have prescription drug coverage. There
Okay.
could have been credible coverage through another entity that they didn't have to have it. And you'll have to certify that you had credible coverage through another entity.
And that would mean like your spouse is still working, or they were a federal employee that provides that type of insurance even after you retire, or that you yourself
Correct.
are still employed in a way that gives you that insurance coverage.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And you get those letters at the end of every year from your employer that says our coverage meets the minimum standards. And so you should get those letters every year, and you'll need to certify whenever you do sign up and you had a lapse, then you have to prove that you did have coverage.
And so the reason that, like that becomes important is when we turn 65, if we don't have a need for prescriptions, it still might be wise to go ahead and purchase a Part D policy anyway,
Absolutely.
just so that
Yes.
you
And
don't end up with that penalty every month.
exactly. And there is a plan that is last year, and there's a plan that's for next year that the monthly premium is 0.
Oh,
So there is no reason to not go ahead and enroll in that. And that offsets. Now, in the past, I've been doing this for almost 10 years, and in the past, we didn't always have a low monthly cost plan. It might have been $23 or $28, and somebody said, "I'm not spending $28 a month, and I won't ever use it."
Yeah.
I I understand that, but now I don't see a reason why you wouldn't sign up because there's a plan that's 0, there's another plan that's $5.30. That at
Yeah.
least helps you offset that penalty.
Yeah. I love that. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Man, Cheryl, you're such a gift. Like, I just
Oh,
pick your brain out and just like start using all of this stuff with all these clients that are in these struggles over these issues because, it's like we need to get the information out because people hear Part D and that they have to have it. They don't know that there's a plan that's $5, like that's very, very powerful information. I'm
and all of our counselors, we have a fabulous group of counselors within PSA 3, and there's extraordinary with the state of Florida. So if someone calls Elder Options and specifically asks for me, you may or may not get me because I find out when I do presentations, people say, I only want to talk to. You're in good hands regardless of who you work with.
Yeah, and you train everyone.
Mhm.
So, right? So like you guys, I have never had a Shine volunteer that didn't know everything. And honestly, like every time that I talk to a Shine volunteer for like a minute, I learned something new that I didn't know. And I've been doing elder law and dealing with Medicare for a long time. So we really appreciate, the level of knowledge and expertise that all of you have. I want to shift you because I know we're going to run out of time.
Okay,
And I know there's this new $2,000 cap coming. And if, I know you might have a slide on this that you were planning to
I
show us.
do.
So,
Mhm.
and I hate to like push you through your presentation, but I want to
Okay.
make sure that we get to that $2,000
Okay.
coverage issue because what this means, you guys, is that you're going to be capped for your out-of-pocket expenditures starting in January of 2025. And Cheryl, I hope you can kind of fill us in on some of the details of this.
Sure. So some of just the highlights with the changes that we are seeing for 2025. So there is a $2,000 cap on covered prescription drug medications through that Part D plan. But you've got to be aware of what counts towards that cap. That cap is what you pay out of pocket for covered medications. And again, super important that you are thinking about covered medications. Not every plan covers every medication. So another reason why it's important to look at the formulary of these plans, the list of covered medications, and a Shine counselor can help you do that. We plug in your medications into Medicare.gov. We can teach each individual how to do that. And it will show us of the 14 plans that are available in our area next year, what plans are going to cover that medication. So it's only if point is not covered by the plan, it does not count towards your maximum out of pocket of 2,000. The
Okay.
monthly premium does not count towards the 2,000. Yes, go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, so let me just give you some scenarios and let's try and plug it into the formula.
Sure.
All right, so I have a medication. It costs $300 and I have to get
How
it
often?
I know it's a very expensive medication. It's $300 and my plan covers it. Okay, so let's just say my plan covers it and I pay $10 for it.
Mhm.
The $10 will go towards the $2,000 cap, or will the
Correct.
$300 just the
On
$10?
just the $10 is our understanding. So if you are on a standard prescription drug plan, that $10 copay that you are putting out at the pharmacy or wherever, that $10 is going to count towards your 2,000.
And so it's going to be $120 if I get it every month for the year. That $120 will all count towards the $2,000 cap. And
Correct.
then let's just say that $300 medication is not covered by my insurance and I have to pay for it.
Right.
that is not going to go towards that $2,000 cap.
That is
That is
correct.
That is why it's so important to have your plan reviewed to see if your medications are included, right? And if you need to switch to a different plan, then you have that option during open enrollment.
Correct. And you also need, and I didn't put it in these bullet points, but you also need to go to a pharmacy that is in network with that plan as well. So
Okay.
another never assume, because my favorite pharmacy was on in network with my plan this year. Do not assume that it is in network with my plan. If I stayed on the same plan, is it um, an in-network preferred pharmacy for my plan next year? So it's always important to check.
Okay. And so the other thing that you and I talked about was this issue of like paying cash for something. Like, I know a lot of us are freaking out. The United Healthcare and Shands and UF are like kind of having this debate. And I wanted to reassure everybody, and you reassured me that that's not going to affect Medicare. So
Correct.
if you have United Healthcare as your supplement insurance and you have a provider that's in at UF, that's still going to be covered.
Correct. Your primary payor is Medicare. So you're going to say, I am Medicare. You give them your red, white, and blue. If you have original Medicare, and then, oh, my secondary, my supplement, my Medigap policy may be through United Healthcare, and I have a plan F, I have a plan G. So all of that will impact how much it's going to cover, but the UF, United Healthcare issue does not apply to Medicare.
Beautiful. And so then the other question is, now I lost my train of thought.
If you pay
Okay.
to cash. So if you're
Like the
using like
cash, yeah.
GoodRx or, yes, cash does not count towards this 2,000 cap.
But you may find when you run the numbers that paying cash for like your mammogram or paying cash for your prescription drug, it may cost you $20 through your plan, but if you get the cash cost through the pharmacy, it may be $10.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have to weigh out. Yes. Another thing that sometimes people don't understand, like for instance, my mom is highly sensitive to medications, and the doctor wrote a new prescription, sent a 90-day supply, and she went to pick it up and it was like $90. She's calling me all upset about $90. And I'm like, well, did you tell them that you only wanted a week's supply? And let's just make sure you can tolerate that medication before we spend $90. And let's just tell them you want a cash price for a week. But you have to do that before you walk away from the counter. Once those meds are in your hand and you walk away, they are yours. So you need to have that discussion before you leave there. But you do have a right to ask. Now, they may be aggravated, but you do have a right to ask, can I just get a week supply and pay a cash price?
You guys, that's such great information. Like, what a great tip, like, because there's so many, I have some meds right now. I got like a 4-month supply of, and I'm not going to use it because it's not doing what they said it was going to do. So like, let's think about that really hard before we stock up on something. Maybe give it a 1-week supply. And it sounds like that's something that we can ask the pharmacist to do for us. So why would we not do that when we're talking
Yes.
about a really expensive medication? Okay.
Right.
Um,
All right.
all right, let's,
On the cap. All right. Can I tell you one other thing? Okay.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I have seen people who take several very, very expensive medications. And matter of fact, I worked with a lady yesterday who was on a medication that in the month of January, she hits her 2,000 max. And so this new payment plan is going to be perfect for someone like her. So it is optional, and you must enroll through your prescription drug plan in this Medicare prescription payment plan. So if you already know I'm going to have that 2,000 max in the first month or month or two, you sign up through your prescription drug plan and they will spread your cost out over 12 months. And so when I explained this to the client yesterday, she was thrilled
Yeah.
because this was a perfect scenario for her. So she's would be looking at $167, $68 a month versus forking out $2,000 in January.
Yeah, that's
So
a huge
this
thing.
payment plan, yeah.
When people are on a limited
But
income,
she's right. So you got to be prepared for two bills. One is for your monthly premium, and second of all, for your medication, that payment plan. So you just have to be prepared for the both bills.
and you have to enroll, like you have to take the step to enroll in that spread out. Yes. Okay.
Yes,
So that's a huge tip, you guys, starting in January, this option to spread out the cost. And that's just, and the insurance company is the one that's kind of bearing the cost of that. This isn't a government program. This is the government saying, you insurance company have to give this benefit to your people. Okay, that's great.
correct.
I love
Yes,
that. I love that. That's
right.
awesome.
All right. So just wanted to just bring up about how the ways you can enroll or disenroll. Certainly, this is our statewide toll-free number. And when you call that, the elder helpline, you can ask to be referred to SHINE services, and then someone will get back with you. And you can also enroll yourself in your new plan if you know what you want to enroll in. So, you can go to medicare.gov and make sure you're going to medicare.gov and not medicare.com. Medicare.com is an insurance company. You can also call Medicare directly, 1-800-MEDICARE. They're open 24/7. You can also enroll through the plan. But we also just want to let you know that Shine is here to help. We can help with those annual plan reviews. And also, if you go to floridashine.org, there is a contact us tab. And you can put your information in. And if you're in our area, it'll come directly to our Shine inbox at Elder Options.
Cheryl, you know, having a designated representative
Mhm.
to help you if you're someone who maybe is having a chronic healthcare condition, or you have dementia, or for whatever reason you need more help with managing your Medicare. How do we get a designated representative through Medicare?
So with Medicare, and I greatly encourage people to go to medicare.gov and create. So up here in this, right here, if you do a login, and it's going to spin for a while, but once you get there, it's going to ask you about creating an online account if you don't already have one. And I think regardless of health circumstances, if you are a Medicare beneficiary, we greatly encourage you to create an account. And then once you create your account, in the account, on the homepage, you scroll down and there's a Manage My Representatives button. And you can add multiple people listed on your Medicare account. So if you're not able to speak for yourself and you got a Medicare issue, someone can, if they're listed on your account, when they call Medicare, they're going to ask your name and they're going to look to see if your name is listed. But if you call them and say, I'm power of attorney or I'm healthcare surrogate, they don't know who they're talking to. So you have to be listed in their account in order to be able to speak, or Medicare to be able to speak with you. Now, SHINE counselors have a backdoor number with Medicare, and we speak on someone's behalf without being their official designee.
That's lovely. And I want to ask, so open enrollment closes December 7th. Is that right?
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
And then the other thing, okay. So I've signed up for a meeting, or I'm going to show up at the senior center. What should I bring with me for you to look at when I'm coming to meet with a SHINE volunteer to review my plan?
Bring your red, white, and blue Medicare card. Bring a complete medication list that also lists the dosage and how often you take it. And I'll use a medication like metoprolol. So there are different forms of metoprolol. So we need to know, is it the extended release or is it the regular? So that makes a difference in, so please bring the complete. Don't say I just take metoprolol. We need to know which one. And then bring any of your current cards that you already have, and that will help us. And if you have a Medicare.gov account, like I just showed you, if you have that, bring your login credentials. That helps expedite the process. We can also help someone set up their account. But it helps the process if you already have one created. And we are at the Alachua County Senior Rec Center every Tuesday during open enrollment, with the exception of the week of Thanksgiving. We're there from 8:30 to 11:30, and that's one of our most popular sites. We're also at our office off of Tower Road. Elder Options is off of Tower Road, and we're there every Thursday, with the exception of the week of Thanksgiving. And we're there from 11 to 2, I believe it is, or 11 to 3.
That it's amazing. We should be doing it every year. I mean, we just should be making them
Absolutely.
part of our process every year. You just go in, you set your appointment, you bring all your stuff, you know what, and then you just get in a rhythm of having it reviewed every year. So there won't be any surprises for you. And the other
Yeah.
thing is, like, as things like this new legislation come into effect, you get the update. It's like you have your own personal person helping you with Medicare. It's just a lovely program. Okay, one other question I had is actually it's a question someone put in the chat. Do you also work with long-term care insurance? Traditional and new hybrids, like, oh boy, that
Yes.
would be a lot for you guys to manage.
Well, a couple of our counselors are more familiar with those. As we know, I'm a little more familiar with them because one past chapter of life, I worked in long-term care. And so I helped families through the process of filing but they are quite a bear. And we also know that those policies were oversold in the 70s and 80s, and the insurance companies did not begin to anticipate the cost that was going to come down with long-term care. I have seen in the past few years where the plans will usually give people 3 options, not always, but I have seen one, you can continue to pay your premium, but the policy payout overall drops. They say if you want to keep your premium and all the benefits keep your policy and all the benefits, I've seen tremendous increases in the monthly premiums. And I've seen a third option by some plans where they say, we're willing to walk away. If you are, we'll give you all your premiums back if you are willing to
Don't do
cancel the
it.
policy.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, right? You can't say that,
I
but as
can't say
an
that.
attorney, you guys, I'm telling you, keep it. Keep it. 80% of people spend time on average 6 months in a highest level of care nursing home at $16,000 a month before they die. So your long-term care policy, depending on what's covered, can be, especially if you got one of those policies that they didn't expect how much it was going to cost. Like, don't do it. Make sure before you make any of those big choices that you really look at the financial side of keeping a policy like that. So no, I love, Cheryl, that you do that. That's amazing. And I think it's so
Well,
you're the one who kind of has that expertise.
and there are a few of our others where we can help guide through it, but
Yeah,
that is not our
bread and
main
butter.
focus. Our main focus is Medicare, and because it got so complicated, they don't offer as many resources for us because one, all the policies are so different.
Right.
And you can't begin to know the ins and outs of every policy until you sit down and you have a full understanding of that policy. But so it does get tricky, and you have to be quite persistent with those plans and to get them to
Yeah.
pay.
And Alan, who posted the question, just so you know, if you go to our YouTube or our TikTok account, we have a whole thing on long-term care, the 5 things that you should look for in every long-term care policy. So that may just give you some initial guidance on what to look at. But we do reviews in our office. We will do long-term care policy reviews, and we give you a little letter that says, hey, these are the good things about your policy. These are the bad things about your policy. And there are other professionals in our area who will do a review for you. But don't cash it in. Don't stop paying on it until you have all the information as to what the, risks and benefits are of making that really big decision. So yeah, thank you for that question. I think that's very important to put on people's radars. It's so funny because people will be like, I have a long-term care policy. And I'll say, oh, does it have a lifetime cap? What is that? Was there a daily cap? What is the hardship period? Is it going to cover care at home, or does it only cover nursing home level of care? Those kinds of things that you really need to look at when you're talking about a long-term care policy.
And
Okay,
then
I know
what's
we've
the
gone over,
elimination period? Oh, goodness. It's
right?
the elimination period. That's another thing that's really important about those. And then I've seen some that have that refill on them, which is great, but I don't see this much anymore because they're such a great
I haven't,
benefit.
I haven't seen one of those for a long time. I actually don't think I've
Mhm.
ever seen one of those, honestly.
Yeah.
That's a dinosaur. If you find one, keep
Yeah.
it.
Keep it. Yes.
Anyway, okay. So Cheryl, I know we're out of time. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Your information has been invaluable. If I could do one thing for everybody out there listening to this, or when we talk about it on social media, get your SHINE annual review. Get your one-on-one SHINE annual review. Do it before, it gets too close to the end. And Cheryl, thank you so much, as always, for providing such important information for us and just being such a resource in our community. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. When we give out calendars, we tell them, go ahead and turn over to October 2025, and at the top, put call shine. So we're here,
Yes,
and
do
please
it.
let us help.
I
Yes.
love it. I
All
love it.
right.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a great fall.
You as well. All right,
Take care, everybody.
bye.
I'm Shannon Miller with the Miller Elder Law Firm. You will get a video of this, just in case you couldn't stay on top of every little thing that we did. That you'll get this video so you can go back and review at your leisure and share with your friends. We love for people to find out more information about, how to age gracefully. All right. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.